Yo, wait a second. Yo, do those
I bet.
plug in?
Yeah.
Like, I can plug this out if I wanted to?
Well,
Oh
yeah,
my,
but you don't have audio. I mean, mine
yeah.
aren't wireless.
Just about every wireless headset has a plug-in, big guy.
Well,
Yeah, mine
no,
aren't
I mean,
wireless, so
mine aren't wireless. And one
that's
Oh,
why
time
I
the
got
cat
back and
chewed
I'm
on
like,
this
I can't hear
wire,
anything.
and I swore it was, like, hardwired, like headphones, so I went and bought a whole new set of headphones, and maybe I coulda just taken the wire out
Jesus
and just
fucking
replaced the
Christ,
wire. I
Rob.
kn I thought these were, like, hardwired
You've
in.
gotta be, you've gotta
Well,
be
dude, it's
kidding
hard
me.
in there. Like, it's like, I feel like it is, though. It's, like, in
Try and
there,
twist it.
like Huh?
A lot of them have,
I don't
like,
wanna
locking mechanisms you can
Yeah.
twist it. Maybe yours can't. Maybe yours are just
I don't
wired. I don't
know.
know.
It's kinda in there,
Yeah, I
like
want you to include
Okay.
this as a bonus part of the podcast because my God, that was one of the worst things I've ever witnessed. That being said, here we go. Ready? All right, quick silence. Welcome back to the GG Over Easy podcast with your boys. You got a Warlock, a Titan, and a Hunter talking about the final shape, and we'll just keep it a buck 50. Bungie cooked, and we talk about how they cooked. We talk about the future of Destiny, talk about how much we enjoyed the game, how much we enjoyed the final shape, the raid race, the story, yada yada yada, and we just kind of go over how much we really enjoyed the final shape, and how much we hope.
no cap either. This is no
No,
cap. We
we're
liked it.
this is hey, this
Yeah.
we're often doomers, but there's no doom here. We talk
Yeah.
about how much we enjoyed the game, talk about how much we want Bungie to keep this going, and how much we believe the game still has to go in relation to other, MMO type games. But how impressed we are really. This is a podcast where we're gonna be glazing on that glizzy.
Yeah,
So
this is Destiny strictly.
so if you guys want all that and more, also we're gonna be talking spoilers a lot. Then
Yeah.
Spoiler, yeah, hard spoiler, like, warning.
then maybe stick around.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the GG Over Easy podcast, episode 231. And it is the Destiny episode for many reasons. I mean, Final Shape just released, so I imagine that's majority what we're going to talk about, as well as some Q&A at the end. But no secret, we're recording this on Sunday, so a little less than a week ago, the Final Shape came out, which is the conclusion to the Light and Dark saga, as we know it, the story Destiny has been telling over the last 10 years since it came out. We grinded. We also tried a day one raid. We're here now. Where do you guys want to start?
We could just start from maybe just, like, the story, like, legendary,
Let's talk about let's start with the legendary campaign. The first and
Yeah.
foremost, and what in my opinion is always the best part of Destiny expansions now.
Are we talking spoilers yet? We need to give a spoiler warning
If
somewhere.
you haven't, this
I
entire
mean, I don't think we can talk about it
no,
without a
this whole this
without
I don't think you should be watching a podcast talking about the final shape unless you played it. So this entire
Oh, there you have
podcast
it.
is going to be
Yeah, I agree.
spoilers.
I agree.
This whole
If
this
you
whole
want to skip the
podcast is
spoiler-free
spoilers.
section, go to the Q&A.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah, go
have,
to the
like,
Q&A because we're gonna be going in.
future Rob will be like, "Hey, hour 15 is when we stop talking about this, so enjoy your 5-minute podcast."
Yeah, enjoy your 5-minute
Thanks, future
podcast.
Rob.
You're welcome.
I'll just talk about the campaign. I think how do I describe this? Destiny's story has wildly oscillated from like really bad to good.
Oscillate. What the hell does that mean?
Oscillate like yeah,
Wow,
Oh, okay.
wow,
Ebbs
wow,
and
wow, wow.
flows.
ebbs and flows. Destiny's story has always wildly oscillated between like really just dog shit to pretty good. And the oscillating definitely the oscillating definitely oscillated a little more toward bad for much of the game's life. But right around Witch Queen, the game really started finding its footing of storytelling.
I thought you liked Forsaken. is that part of the?
That's part of the ebb and
Okay.
flow of it. But I think Witch Queen is where they started really finding their footing and having a little, the stocks were going up, and like the seasons leading up to Witch Queen, and then Witch Queen itself, and Witch Queen seasons, I started genuinely caring about the story. And so I guess the best way to describe it is Destiny somehow managed to pull a reverse Game of Thrones. Now,
Wow.
I'm going to bring it around to the station here.
Yeah, let him land.
Game of Thrones. So, one of the incredible storytelling
We always come
for
back to it.
the start. And the first 4, arguably 5 seasons are peak television, peak storytelling, just so smart, so good. The highs were so high. The lows were so low in the best way possible. Like, you felt everything that happened. 6 and was 7 the last season or 8?
7,
8.
No, 8.
I think it was
Okay,
8.
yeah. 6 and 7.
You're saying is like Lightfall almost, or like?
Well, we'll get around the station. So 6 and
Okay.
7. 6 and 7 had their problems, but it was still great TV. It just wasn't as peak as like, wow, peak. You know what I mean? Like 6 and 7 were still, compared to most TV, like not even close. Like, but because the comparisons were there, like it was peak. You know what I mean? It was still peak. 8 so bad it made me forget about seasons 1 through 7. It made me forget in that moment.
Story is more fitting than.
It made me so quickly forget all the good things about Game of Thrones because of how bad the ending was. Because of how badly they did not stick that landing. Destiny 2. The story started from, I can't explain why I can't explain that I can't explain. I don't have time
to explain why
I don't have time to explain. What, man? The story going from vague, guys, the darkness is bad, to the next expansion, here's character exposition. Also, the darkness is bad. You had a couple of moments where it was like, oh, are we going somewhere? And then, nope, we're not going anywhere.
And I'm sure this is you just saying this about like the cutscene stories, not so much like the lore or the grimoire, like all that kind of stuff.
But the in-game
Grimoire
story
wasn't a thing until
the let's be real here. The lore is nice, and the lore is a great part of Destiny, but the lore has rarely ever made an appearance in game stories. It sucks. And the moments it does, it's great. Which, continuing on, you have these moments where like the lore and the game finally intersect, like Deepstone Crypt, like the dungeon, Ishtar Collective,
the stranger
finally coming back,
0 Hour.
Not Ishtar Collective.
Black Armory.
It was the Mars dungeon.
Prophecy.
No, where
Warlord's Ruin.
No, where Osiris.
No, what's the Yeehaw one?
Yeah, the Yeehaw one. Yes, the Yeehaw one.
I can't remember what that one's called.
I forgot,
yeah.
but that was a big lore. Yee-hoo! But that was a big lore. Big one for lore heads. You start getting all this lore about a Garden of Salvation, and when it really hits, it finally is like, oh, we're gonna get somewhere, and then we rarely get anywhere. So the game oscillates, and then you have finally stuff like Forsaken, where it's like, finally we get some good in-game story. Maybe it's not high art, maybe it's not even by most storytelling standards great, but in Destiny it's like, finally something coherent, let's go.
Just something.
And then we get Shadowkeep, but then we get stuff like Witch Queen, then we get Savathun and all of her lore finally coming together, and they do this character they've been hyping up in the lore and the game so long justice, and she's a total asshole and you love to hate her. And then we get Lightfall, where we're right back to square one, where it's like, man, all that storytelling, everything that we were getting to, all that lore, and we're right back to, hey guys, I farted. Like, cool.
I hated that part.
And so despite all of that, despite the game having such a rocky road of storytelling, of never really finding its footing, sometimes getting something cool, and then nope, back to not caring. They somehow managed to stick the landing of a story so rocky, so often incoherent. They somehow managed to make me care about this villain that they had been building up for the past 3-4 years that I wasn't really sure about, but finally started to come together. They somehow managed to make it feel like we had never lost Cade, and that Cade had been part of the game for all these years, and he was getting these character arcs that we'd been waiting for and hoping for. We finally get this progression of Crow, not only getting to see his and bond with the person he murdered, but also realize, like, hey, maybe there's stuff I have to teach to Cade in the same way Cade has things to learn from me. We finally get Ikora and Zavala really fleshing out their hopes and fears. We finally get Zavala breaking down and really realizing, wow, you know what? Like, maybe my faith has been shaken, and maybe I am gonna get a little over the top and kind of act like a baby, and maybe I am gonna hit rock bottom finally. And our, it's just, with what they had, they didn't have much going in to the final shape. I'm gonna be real. Story-wise, they did not have much going in, but they somehow managed to stick the landing so good, it made me forget about how bad Destiny's story has been the past 7 years overall. So it's the inverse Game of Thrones, where the ending of Game of Thrones was so bad, I forgot everything good about Game of Thrones. But with Destiny 2, the ending was so good, I forgot everything bad about Destiny 2. So it just goes to show how good an ending, despite the lead up to it being ass, how good an ending can really change how you feel about a game. Plus, it also helps that the Legendary campaign slapped. Mechanics were sick. I thought the final boss of the Legendary campaign was so hot. And then, it's just the gameplay was just really peak. Prismatic was really fun to work with. It's going to be hard to go back to older classes, the way I can mix and match things. It's just, the zones having all these cool things to them. I almost had a level of exploration that came back in the same way that I had from, like, Taken King and Dreaming City. I don't think the exploration type beat is quite as expansive as those, but also, the zone is made to be like one story you go through, so I can forgive that. But, like, the campaign was really, 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 really genuinely good, and I was so impressed. And, like, with the hands that they had, I didn't think they were going to do it that good. So, Legendary campaign, like 9.5 out of 10 for me.
It's great. Almost sounds like Destiny story's back for you.
They'll disappoint me again, but I hope going forward they decide sooner on what they want their story to be, because in D1 they never figured it out. And then it took until Shadowkeep for them to finally be like, we should probably have, like, an overarching villain for this after, like, 5 years, 6 years of Destiny. So if they can get to that point sooner so they can start building sooner, that would be nice.
Well, I'm interested to think what they thought the end of the story was when they made, like, D1, because it definitely wasn't this. I don't even think they maybe had an end. They're just like,
When did we first
darkness.
see like the pyramid thing? Was that the end of Destiny 1 story? Like
The
when we
end of
saw the
this,
pyramids
it
roll
was
up?
it was technically right at the end of D2.
It was after the Red War.
Like
There was like a
after the
tiny
Red
little
War.
cutscene where like
Yeah, and it like
because
pulsed.
we took off the chain or the pulse or the traveler took off like the chain thing that Gaul had on him, um, and was like, "Screw you guys," and then did the big pulse to destroy Gaul when he was in his big form, and then that pulse went out throughout the whole universe, and then it awakened or like alerted the Black Fleet, and then that's when you see the ships just like turn on and
Yeah.
start to like make their way to Earth, and then so that was the first time we actually knew of like where it was going or like what to look forward to. I think for me, if D1's story had actually been good, like the vanilla campaign, I think I would have been more invested in the story.
Yeah.
Totally.
But because it was dog water, um, I just didn't buy in. And then subsequently, most of the stuff I'm just like, cool, I'm playing it, but like I don't really understand the implications, whatever. I
Yeah.
get cool guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the Witch Queen when I was like, wait a second, this is kind of cool.
Yes.
What's going on? Then I started looking more into the lore. And then I'm like, oh, Lightfall's gonna be sick.
Oh
And
man.
then Lightfall was like, huh. Well, now I'm kinda out again. What was that about? And then grinding the last few seasons, turbo mode right before expansion, seeing all that story. And then the amount of stuff I've learned is like 100-fold in Bife's 10-hour video he made. It's like the entire story of Destiny up until this point. I'm only like 6 out of the 10 hours in. I've learned more in those 6 hours listening to that thing than I have in the 10 years of playing Destiny.
And most of that isn't in game. It's
Yeah, and it's so cool. And I'm like, "Wait a second. This is way cool." Um, but unfortunately, a lot of it is hidden behind either, like, Grimoire on a website
Yeah.
or lore tabs on armor and weapons, all this sort of stuff. So, like, the normal Joe Schmo, myself included, was just blind to all that. So I'm like, "I don't know." And then somebody'd be like, "Whoa, that's so and so." And I'm like, "How do you know how do you know that? What? We didn't see that before because we never saw it in, like, stories or campaigns." It would just be like, "Well, if you know this Grimoire," and I'm like, "Well, I don't actually." So being able to hear that and listen, it is cool, and it was cool knowing more going into, the final shape, looking out for that sort of stuff. Um, so for me, it wasn't until towards the end I started caring about the story because it also felt like I mentioned with D1 that, like, they didn't even know where they were going. So, it's like, why should I care? I just enjoy gameplay. Get cool guns, I shoot pew pew. Um, and then, yeah, it wasn't until Taken King or, Witch Queen where it felt like, as a whole, I was like, "Wow, that there's a real narrative here, and that was really interesting, and now I wonder the implications." And then we got to fight Rolk, which was really cool, and then learned all about that. And I'm like, "That's sick." Um, so, yeah, it was like for me, it was like 7 years of Destiny where, like, I kinda cared about lore in little places like Taken King, Forsaken, but for the most part, whatever. And then the last, like, 2 or 2.5, whatever, at Witch Queen, like, "Oh, we're back. This is interesting." Lightfall sort of dipped, come back final shape, and then, yeah, the ending was, uh, I don't know how they could have done it better. I don't know.
You've
I
actually
ended up
played the ending.
playing
Blue and I have not at this point.
I was gonna
Like
say,
Blue
I
and I have
played
not
the
done the final
ending.
mission.
Blue, have you seen the final or, like, the cutscenes after anything?
okay. So I have not seen like the final because we're gonna do
I
it
haven't either.
after the podcast. But um, I am a man who likes to peruse spoilers, so I know everything already.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I don't really give a shit. So like if you
Yeah, for
wanna talk
Rob,
about it
it
if you
probably
wanna
was
talk
this
about
game?
it, go for it.
Who's
it's
that?
it's a my understanding is it's a more of a gameplay ending that really sets the tone and makes it feel strong. Obviously the ending, but I already know everything because I'm a little sick little freak who likes looking up spoilers ahead of time.
Yeah, to end it all, so the campaign, legendary campaign, normal campaign, whatever, the final boss is the witness, but we just, like, weaken him, we kill a couple or we free, like, some of the dissenters, he's calcified, and then we sorta just wound him, and then he gets pissed, and we gotta get out. And then narratively, the raid comes in, and one fire team, goes into his spire or whatever to try and um, buy time for everybody
Yeah.
else to get through the darkness and to
Which is
finally get the witness in like a spot to be
That
able
is
to
cool.
actually
which
I
is
like
kill
that.
him.
which is canonically our guardian.
Yeah, canonically, it's our guardian in the spire. Um,
So wait, I got worlds first?
Yes,
we
technically,
all got worlds first. Yeah.
in the lore, yes, you did get worlds first.
So the raid at the end of the raid, you obviously fight the witness, but you don't kill him. At this point, you like send him off, and he's so like beatered and fractured that now like okay, this is it. He's on his final stand essentially.
This is
Send
his raid.
everybody in. Yeah, call everybody. We're going in, and then that's where the last mission called Excision, that's available to all players, unlocked after somebody beat the raid, was a 12-player matchmade activity, which they've never done before.
Sick.
And you go in, and the gist of it is you show up. There's a cutscene before. It's real cool. Zaval's rallying the troops, giving a speech, and literally like everybody's there. All the allies we've ever seen. We even got Savathun the Hive. We got the Cabal with Keitel. We got the Elixni. We got obviously other Guardians and humans like Hawthorne. Everybody, pretty much everybody showed up. Drifter's there because whatever, he just shows up and you're like, oh right,
The
there's
Rat
Drifter.
Man's doing his thing.
And we gotta, and that's when they're saying it was cool because they're like currently, like as we speak, we have a fire team in there weakening the guard or the witness to buy us this time. Now let's storm the castle essentially. And then it was cool because then Zavala uses stasis. Because spoilers in the story and everything. Zavala ends up losing his ghost, Tarj. And so he loses his light. I know, Rob, it was really hard for you.
I forgot about that
And
till now. Oh, fuck!
and so then there's a little radio message after the story where we hear a little excerpt of Zavala asking Ikora if she will show him how to use stasis, which famously he's always been against the darkness or whatever. So then we see him use stasis and like launching everybody, which is super cool. Then you get into the mission and the 12 of the players and then all the allies like with you, and you're all like rushing the thing.
Avengers.
Blah blah blah. Yeah, the cutscene with like everyone showing up, it was very Avengers like. And then you push into the final room, and it's the witness. Do a whole bunch of stuff. Blah blah blah. I will say it was really cool. You guys will see, but it felt very canon, like the most canon any fight has ever felt.
You
Because we
actually
were
felt like it
dying
was a
left and right.
cutscene story type of thing, almost like,
Yeah,
or
well, like literally according to like the lore about how our guardians work, because like they talk about and like whenever we fight gods and stuff, they're like these are puny, but then they realize our true powers that we're just like never ending because you kill us and we just get back up, we res, and then we just wear them down. And in this case, yeah, we were dying left and right. I mean, I probably died like 10, 20 times. But
that's
then
cool.
after like 2-3 seconds, whoop, and you just see everybody dying and respawning, and then just going back in the witness, and the witness killing them, and then boop, 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 and you just go like it literally felt like how our guardians in like the
Canonically,
war,
biblically
like,
accurate guardians.
yeah, that like actually that's like you. It felt like we were literally seeing how guardians actually wear
work.
down an enemy. Yeah,
Yeah. Not so much like, oh my god, I died because this is too hard. Someone res me. You
yeah.
get rezzed. Yeah.
More instead, it was just like sheep to the slaughter, and it was really cool. Because yeah, that was the first moment where it's like this literally shows me why Guardians are OP.
Wow, we're terrifying. It it almost is reminiscent of like Helldivers, right? Where like
Yeah,
imagine how terrifying that is. Set another one in, boys.
Yeah.
Both Guardians
We
is
got
like
funny.
we just killed him. What the fuck?
Goku loses to Guardians, you're saying?
Goku clears Guardians pretty easily, but
Well, he'd have to have paracausal energy to destroy the ghost.
not
If
necessarily.
he could do that.
No, not necessarily, because in Forsaken, just some random ass scorn was like sniper rifle to the ghost, dead.
Well, no, that's canon. They used a paracausal weapon to destroy Kate's ghost.
I'm pretty sure Goku and a Kamehameha.
Bulma Bulma could figure out
Yeah,
something.
Bulma could probably
Yeah,
figure
Pretty
some
sure
way out.
if Ultra Instinct isn't paracausal, I don't know what the fuck is. So
True. That's true. So yeah, you go through that mission. Spoilers. Whoa, you beat the witness.
Yeah.
Um, and then it launches a whole bunch of cutscenes.
Like he's actually defeated. Like you like it's not like the
Yeah,
raid. You see him go into the thing. You see him like.
yeah, he's done. He's done
Okay.
for this time. And then it launches into a cutscene, and it's like, I mean, there's like actual cinematic cutscene, and in-game engine cutscene, whole bunch of like the story art cutscenes, and then a really poignant ending that we'll see. Hopefully, I'll see. I guess it kind of bugs out sometimes if you've already done it, and if I miss that part, I'm gonna be bummed. But you go through, and then it pretty much shows how it all ends, wraps everything up, um, and surprisingly in a really like well done way. Um, you see the aftermath, and then sort of what everyone becomes, and like you finally see Crow take on the Hunter Vanguard role. He's got a new man bun thing.
because in the previous mission they made fun of how stupid his haircut was.
They took it personally. And so yeah, you see all the characters interact as well as with our Guardian. Um, as far as at the very end of the mission, though, it starts really sad. Because certain things, even though we're trying not to talk spoilers, I won't explicitly say, but something sad happens, and then something even sadder happens. Um, and then it goes into the cutscene to show the aftermath of all of that. And it was good stakes, good setup, good payoff. And then the very end, you've probably seen like screenshots, Rob, or
Yeah, I've
something.
seen pictures. Yeah, I've seen pictures.
But it's your Guardian, if you're in a fire team, the three of you sitting on the edge of like a spaceship or something, looking out into orbit over Earth with the Traveler out there, pouring out like energy. And at the beginning, it's like last few audio messages of like what's happening, and then also like trying to say like, although we killed the witness, like there's a power vacuum, and what's gonna take it, and who knows where we'll go, because at this current juncture, we don't know like
Yeah. It didn't end
where
like
we're
every
going.
other Destiny expansion going like, but the real baddie is this is like
Yeah.
the first time, it sounds like.
So now we don't know. They led to a couple things which I think are just going to set up the episodes they currently have. Like some piece fell from the Traveler, like three pieces flew out. One of them fell on seemingly Nessus, and then I believe Tuesday we'll find out with the whole season one that it has to do with Nessus and Vex and the AI there. But it sets that up, and then something else with like Pro looking out for the Scorn, and then the third one with Azivu Wrath and like trying to grab a sword and stuff. So who knows? So I think those will probably be the three episodes. But then after all that's done, just some calm music playing, and it's just your fire team sitting there looking out, and it's very poignant. After like 10 years, just sitting there soaking it all in.
I saw you got quite
Hold on,
emotional after it, if
I did.
afterwards.
It wasn't even so much the story,
Just kind
but
of what
just
Destiny has done for us as a whole almost type of thing.
yeah, seeing it all wrap up after 10 years.
Yeah.
Um, Thinking about where I was 10 years ago, and yeah, what
How
it's done for
different.
me, and it was it
I
was
mean, we
very well
give
done.
Destiny a ton of shit, but literally without Destiny, this would not exist. Like none, like what we are doing right now, all that kind of stuff, wouldn't exist. So, your score on the Final Shape uh, campaign?
If I had to if we're talking out of all Destiny campaigns, I put like 9.5 or 10. Now, if we're talking all video games ever, maybe 7.5 or an 8.
I saw some people
Good
saying
narrative,
Game of
but
the
like,
Year. Does this not even touch your Game of the Year?
Okay, let's calm down. I think for
well, also it's
Destiny,
so early. I don't know.
it's way too early. We don't have the full scope of the one. I can't even do the
Well, like
cost
right
of
now,
it.
think about it. Like we're in June. We're halfway through the year. We are
So,
halfway through the year, technically.
I
I
guess
think.
So
Damn.
the thing is, I need to see how the rest plays out. Like what else there is to
like
do.
episodes, all that kind of stuff.
Because it'll also have to do with episodes for me. Like, are episodes just a fancy way of saying new seasons? Like, is anything going to change? What is it going to look like? Um, as of the time of recording this, actually tomorrow at 8 a.m., I believe they're having a live stream where they mention they'll talk about the future of Destiny 2 in the
Yeah.
next year or whatever. My prediction is not much. I'm going to assume it's these episodes. I don't think we're getting a DLC or anything.
Yeah.
And in fact, my spinfoil hat is there's nothing. And then towards the end of like the second or third episode, when especially the community's probably down bad again, um, they'll do another live stream announcing Destiny 3, and then
Wow.
that'll be a ways
Wait.
out.
Question.
Okay, go on.
Do they take the 3 off? Do they take the 3 off and just call it Destiny?
No, they keep the 3.
I would, but I
I
wouldn't be
think
surprised
They
if
go
they keep the 3.
it's just easy marketing because Destiny 2 specifically and D1, people don't come back for like the expansions when for reference, right? It took Final Fantasy 14 like 6-7 years of consistently getting better to get old players back in, you know what I mean? And like even for me, I was like, oh, isn't 14 ass? Like I saw how stupid it looked. And it wasn't until like the end of Stormblood where everyone was like, no, this game is amazing. And then I play it, I'm like, yeah, holy shit, this game's amazing. Shadowbringers was one of the best games I've ever played, and then Endwalker even more so. And I was like, wow, like I wish I got into this sooner because it's incredible. And Destiny is like its peaks are great, but the problem is like it's always like it's ebbs and flows. It's never like steady. Wow, this is getting better and better, and so it's harder for people to come back and knowing that because if you ask Destiny players, they'd be like, maybe don't come back right now, or maybe come back in a couple months. You know what I mean? And whereas with other games, that it's like, oh, dude, it's just getting better. Like, get in now. So
Yeah.
So when you add like when it's a new game, a new like, oh, it's the next one, it's a lot easier for people who maybe already wrote it off to be like, you know what? Maybe I'll come back. All my friends are gonna try it. It's 3, sure. So I think they keep the 3. I also definitely think they do. I also definitely think they do a Destiny 3. I didn't think they would, but I think especially with Prismatic, it's really hard for me to see the game as ever going back to this level of customization. And I think for a lot of us, we've kind of been waiting to be able to mix and match the things that we love the most about our characters, but we never got to because of the way subclasses worked. So I, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a Destiny 3. And I think it mostly comes down to the gameplay. It's if yeah, going forward, I can definitely see Prismatic being like the way we do things. So,
You want to hear a hot take?
what's a hot take?
This is hot take spinfoil hat. Destiny
Okay.
3, everyone has a new guardian. Our guardian's either dead or sunset.
Like thousands of
And
years in
now
the
we're a
future.
legend. Yeah. They'll now talk about our guardian as a legend and like some mythical creature, but then that
That's
also
cool.
gives them a very easy way to be like, this is why you have no weapons again.
I
Instead of
like
being like,
that, but you
all
pissed
killed
me
the
off
vault.
with that.
And finally, it's also finally
Better than Rot killed the vault though. Like it makes way more sense.
also finally an opportunity for them to just fresh start on a real story versus making it up on the way. Because I mean that's most of Destiny. Most of Destiny feels like, yeah, we're just kind of. And I know most stories are making it up along the way, but at least you have like a rough like this is what I want to do. Whereas
Well, not
Destiny,
even that, but gameplay wise, like what they
yes,
thought D2 was 7 years ago versus what it is now. is completely different. So if they
yeah,
finally honed in on what they want, or
their vision keeps changing, so the story keeps changing, and you never get anywhere. But now I feel like especially with the final shape, they know what Destiny is, and so now a 3 would be a amazing time to just be like, this is what Destiny is. This is what we want the story to be. This is what we want the gameplay to be. Because if the gameplay is more like Final Shape, I mean, they're gonna knock it out of the park. And I feel like I never felt like there's moments in Destiny where like they finally realize their potential of the perfect blend of like gameplay, MMO light, but also like visceral action. And I feel like in Final Shape, there's these moments, especially during that last legendary campaign fight, where I'm like, yes, this is Destiny. Like this is what I've been waiting for Destiny to be. So
Yeah.
Destiny 3 is a good opportunity for them to really like take all the things they've learned from D1 and 2, because man, they made a lot of the same mistakes in D2 they made in D1. So third time's a charm, and hopefully they take it all and realize this is what Destiny is, and bring back a lot of people to the franchise who maybe already wrote it off. Because as good as the game is doing, there really was nothing quite like the cultural and just like the singularity that Destiny 1 had when it launched, of just everyone was playing Destiny. Everyone tried it
Taken
out.
King, I felt like kind of had that sort of pull as well.
And I wish Taken King had that pull, but so many people had already left by then.
Yeah.
And
I would say
so
that was the first time I had seen people like actually go back.
for sure.
Because I don't see normies going back to Final Shape like I did Taken King.
Oh no, 100%. Like
They're not.
Final Shape is definitely like, if you aren't already like close to Destiny at this point, you probably weren't coming back. And that's kind of like the overarching narrative of Destiny, like, right? Like they never really managed to bring back the people that they lost, even from, from 10 years ago, right? So, and D2 was that chance, and that did not go well. So I think a 3 would be awesome. I would love a 3.
well, and then yeah, the last bit of speculation is I'm hoping with D3, it's not just like, oh, they've figured out a new story and they know how we want to collect guns now, blah blah. I want to see like fundamental evolutions in the same way that 10 years ago Destiny 1 was groundbreaking for what we had then
Yeah.
and was doing a whole bunch of stuff games weren't. I'd like to see Destiny 3 push that even further of like evolving on itself and delivering on things that we don't yet know. To the things of like not even, I think I mentioned before, like no more loading zones. Like it's if you're on a world, it's all persistent, or like more people in a zone, or bigger activities, or like pushing things beyond just the narrative and uh looting abilities and all that sort
Yeah,
of stuff that like
the core gameplay itself really has to evolve, and the world has to feel more like a world, because I think that's definitely my biggest gripe, is so often the world just kind of feels like it's there, is unchanging.
like imagine if your ship wasn't just a loading screen. What if in between things you could actually interact with your ship, or like there's so many
My hot
different
take
things
for
that
the
could
Final
change.
Shape was
Upgrade your ship.
we were gonna get a ship mission. That was my hot take for the
We still
this
don't have space
expansion. We didn't
combat
get it.
in the space
We didn't
shooter.
get it.
True.
I
That would be
thought that was
sick.
gonna be like the one thing that was gonna be like the cool, like we finally get to do
Yeah.
this. Like
And
Yeah.
I hate to bring it to Warframe, but I can customize my ship in Warframe. I get to customize the inside. I get to like, ooh, like it's so cozy in here
Yeah.
because I
lean
decorated
into those
it.
more MMO type things.
Lean into
more
the
often.
cool things, because it really feels like the past 10 years has been, okay, what's Destiny's core gameplay? And it's like, hey, I'm so happy that the core gameplay is finally getting there. But there's got to be more than just, there's got to be something that makes the world feel alive. There's got to be parts of the game that make me feel like, wow, like I'm really playing the RPG part of this shooter RPG, you know what I mean? And I could see them doing it, but
But realistically, I'm expecting D2 plus.
It better be D. It should.
Yeah.
But I really want D3, especially if they're like, because I think right now part of it too is Bungie's panicking because they're like, wait, we put a lot on Marathon, and Marathon is God
Looking
knows
like
doing
not
what.
the
Yeah,
hype that we thought it was going to get.
yeah. I thought they were like, this is gonna bang, and now they're like, we
that's
shouldn't
probably gonna
put
get
so many
canceled
eggs
at
in the
this point.
basket.
Like,
Something. So then they're like, they've been leaning off Destiny, and they're like, and they always just assume, well, whatever, this will just keep making us money. And now they're like, wait, that's not the case, and we actually have to like deliver. And now I think they're genuinely too like, okay, well, we gotta do D3 or whatever comes next. And so I'm hoping, yeah, that it isn't just completely more of the same, but like a fresh start, but
Yeah.
truly an evolution. Because like they've already pioneered this looter shooter space MMO light sort of thing, and so I'd love for them to continue pioneering and actually evolving that space. But
I would love for
we'll
them to be
see.
like, Halo 2, in my opinion, had one of the best clan systems to ever be in any sort of video game ever, where you could break people down to like CEO or like lieutenant or captain and stuff like that. I would really like to see like the
The
clan
clan system
system.
has just been a throwaway.
Yeah,
And then
yeah, it just
the
is like a second friends list
yeah, the
almost. Like
social
it
aspects.
needs a complete overhaul.
The
Like
social
it is
aspect
something.
has been the weakest part of Destiny over these past. I mean, well, the story was the weakest part for a long time, but the social aspect for what is a very social game that is trying to be like an MMO, the social aspects are dire. And like the LFG was a great step in the right direction of having a basically party finder. Awesome, but where's the social part? Where's the wow, I could see other guardians doing this and that, but like in a meaningful way instead of like, oh yeah, they're in the zone. You see them shooting at things. Oh yeah, the tower. Yeah, they just kind of run around and go pick up bounties and stuff. Like there's no like I don't know. There's not like a lot of joy in the social part of the game versus
Yeah.
like in obviously other games like tons of MMOs where wow,
That's
that
a really big
title's
part of
so
the
cool.
Yeah.
Destiny
Oh, whoa,
titles
look at the
are
sparrow. That sparrow's so rare. Like,
yeah, it's all kind of handed to you. Um, but even then, it's like I can't really describe what I want from it, but I can describe what other games do for it, right? Because like you can like in I'm bringing back to Final Fantasy 14 again. I'm sorry, guys. Like Final Fantasy 14 is hot. I go to other people's houses and see their homes and be like, wow, that's amazing. You worked on this and the creative aspect of this was so sick. I could see other people's adventure plates that they custom designed, and it's like, whoa, your character looks so sick in this portrait that you designed. I go to other people's islands, like, wow, you spent so many months in this cool ass island. Look at all your little minions doing this cool shit. I can like all these weapons that I have literally no idea how to get from. Wow, where'd you get that? And in Destiny 2, it's like I don't get that feeling because it's like, where'd you get that? Oh, it's not in the game anymore. Oh, okay. Oh, where'd you get that? Oh, it was from like base D2. You can't play it anymore. Oh,
yeah.
Hopefully they sort out how to keep almost everything in the game.
Where'd you get that? Oh, it's from this raid that's not in the game anymore. Oh, okay. Like all these things that really make the game feel alive and feel like there's so much to explore, there's so much to do, so much to see, so much to do.
Couldn't say it better myself.
You never know if you don't go. But in Destiny 2, it's like, sorry you weren't there 3 years ago. That content's not in the game anymore. So it's like the core game is so good and it feels like they've spent so much time working on the core game, but I would really like to see it be pushed to a level that really promotes the social aspect, that really promotes the wonder and lure of new things, that really promotes us being in a living, breathing world that is moving without us. You know what I mean? Because Destiny, my one of my biggest criticisms of Destiny is like the world never feels like it's moving without us. The world always feels like, oh, uh, cool. New content came out. Go do it. Done. Well, see you in 6 months. Like and that's pretty much it. Like there's nothing else to do when the game's slow. There's nothing to do. It's like, oh, go play Crucible. Go grind this title. But it's all kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I know where I'm getting, but I haven't slept very good, so my apologies. But you know what I mean, where there's
I think
just,
part of the problem is they want us to continue interacting with the core playlists like Gambit,
but they never update
Vanguard, and
them.
Crucible, but they're the same they've been since
Yeah, so
like almost like launch. It feels like they get so much. Like the only thing that's changed now is the new Pathfinder for them instead of bounties, which fundamentally doesn't really change much. Like you're still just doing the same thing. So I think that's the part of the issue.
it's like okay, best way to describe it. It's like a really nice piece of cooked chicken, but there's no seasonings. It wasn't cooked in like it wasn't baked. It wasn't, you just kind of put it on a pan and cooked it till it got cooked. There's no like sides. There's no, there's not a nice little
There's
side
nothing inherently
salad.
wrong with it. It's just like
Like
could've been
it's
so much
good.
better.
It's finally a nicely cooked piece of chicken after you doing some really weird shit to it over the past 10 years. But like there's no like it's not a full course meal. There's no fries on the side. You don't have your drink with it, you know what I mean? So that's what I'd really like to see with Destiny 3. Because right now, it is really good chicken. I'm not gonna lie, it's really good chicken. And I think Final Shape is like a clear 9 out of 10 expansion for me. I would say it's the best expansion Destiny the entire franchise has ever had.
Uh,
But I
I'll give
know
go ahead.
Destiny 2 I know Destiny the franchise still isn't caught up to so many other games that are doing it really well, and I know it could be now because they finally really nailed what they want Destiny to be. So I'm excited. And Rob, hit me with it.
So to get my thoughts, who really gives a shit? Things were fun to shoot. You guys had fun, and you guys enjoyed
Give me
it. That
your
made me
rating.
enjoy it. Like 9. It was fun. You guys like the story, but
No,
like for
give me
me, who
your
gives a
real
fuck?
rating. I want the
Like
hater.
it's not. I'm like not hating. I had fun. It's fun. You guys are enjoying it. I follow you guys. You guys tell me what to do, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. I get
You
good rolls. I go,
bitch.
oh, this gun looks
Tell
good.
me how you really
But
feel,
like the
you
story is
bitch.
the story, like I don't care. I don't care. I think Christian said
Yes,
it great.
yes, Rob.
After the Destiny 1 story and how ass that was, it set my whole tone for every story ever going after that. I don't fucking care. I don't know what's happening. That's why I don't care. I just shoot things like we've always said. Shooting things in Destiny's fun. That'll never not be
Yes.
fun. That'll never
Yes.
not be fun. So it's hard to fuck that up because you already have it in the game. But like the game is like the shooting and what they have you doing, you guys enjoy it, makes me enjoy it. So I follow and just do what you guys do.
Give me your
Let's
rating.
talk about what I really like though, and what gets me going to the thing.
Okay,
The
fair.
raids. All right.
That's right.
The raid came out this Friday because of some story shit, which I ended up thinking was dumb. But I at the end of it thought was kind of sick. With how it all worked out and how it all came together. I think it was really sick. I hope they continue to kind of do that.
And Rob, got your wish.
Yeah, we got the day 1 raid that I think day 1 raid should be like. It was hard. It was extremely difficult. I don't know what the final count is after today about how many people have cleared it.
I'm gonna see if I
Uh,
can figure out.
um, by the time I had stopped watching, I think it was around like 15 or something like that, 14 or something like that. I could be wrong. That's what
It's
data
I
had
think by
said. I think.
at this point it's a couple hundred. But
No way, it's a couple hundred.
Take a guess.
Is it?
Take a guess.
I think somebody just put it in the chat. Someone said 592.
593.
Wow.
well, it's
593
593
people beat it by the
teams.
end of the
No, that's
night?
593 teams.
Teams. Yeah.
That's way more than I thought it was going to end up being.
Now, a couple of these, not many, Are people doing
Repeats, yeah.
repeats? The world's first team, half of their team did 3 clears. They're
Okay.
wild. A lot of these though, especially like let me see. Pretty much starting from like 350. These last 200 clears have been in the past like 2 hours.
Okay.
So a lot of these are coming in
It
literally.
could be like Sherpas of other people like bringing in friends or like maybe I don't know, but
pretty hard to
who
Sherpa.
knows?
But there's clearly gamers out there.
That's a lot more than I thought it was going to be though.
And a lot of these people, I mean, took small sleeps and then, essentially in the 48 hours have at least been raiding for like 30, 38 of them or something. I mean, they're wild. But yeah, to your point, if this was a 24-hour raid like it was before,
Yeah.
not only was it the longest to get a world's first clear, beating out the Last Wish, in 24 hours, only one team beat it. So if it was the old 24-hour world race like Last Wish, there was only one team to beat it, and it would have taken even longer, which is wild. And then there was still even like 4 hours of separation between world's first and second.
Yeah. But in my
crazy.
opinion, like I think this is exact. I think they heard it what everybody was talking shit and said the last raid was boo boo keys and like fuck you. Like, how dare you do this? But this raid makes me think the last raid was even more so just shoved into the story to shut us up
Especially
even
after the
more so.
legendary campaign, I was like, they definitely took a dungeon from what was supposed to be in the final shape and turned it into a raid. And
Threw in the planets encounter and then
Yeah.
all the raid.
So, but this raid so awesome, like and especially with like content, like I always say this, there's no gaming experience, I mean there probably is for some, but like a day one contest like is just so much fun, it is, but like it's also like the worst thing ever to happen in the world ever in those moments too, like, but that's the moments that I also enjoy because it's just fun. What I really liked about this raid, it wasn't like a first DPS check. It was more so like a team execution check, which what I enjoy the most as a first kind of encounter. Because then it like trims the fat. It really shows like if your team is one able to execute under pressure, which I think is the most important thing to like show off in a raid. Not do you have the weapons and can you go 5 hunter and stuff like that. Like I think it's really cool to kind of have execution,
it's
pressure, all those sorts of things come into
it's
it.
so funny that you say that because the last encounter, I think most groups by the end of it just ended up going 600s with the new golden
Well, that's
gun
why I say
sniper.
that is because
So
like that's what
That's
like suck. And think
that's my
about how
only
like
beef
much
with
that
the
would have
raid.
sucked. That and think about how much that would have sucked if that was like the first encounter as a DPS check to the point where it's like, well, fuck, I gotta be like 6 hunters instead of what we've been doing. But instead, it's like this kind of intricate puzzle that like seems really confusing at first, but once you really like break it down, it's actually pretty simple. And it's basically like, can you just get like the perfect run, which is like what I really liked. And we were on that for what
8 hours.
we were on that for 8 hours.
8
Um,
long hours.
yeah, which was a little longer than it should have been.
a lot longer than it should have been.
And by the time we had finished that, I think we all kind of understood because we saw at that point everybody was either at the encounter we were on, and I think Salta Greppo was maybe the only team that was on like the weird fourth
On Twitch
encounter
at
that
least.
that nobody could have figured out. So we knew we were in for it.
And boy,
But
oh boy.
like that is another reason why I like this raid. Like the raid is meant for like the dados, the salted greppos, like to actually complete it. And it's meant for us like normies to be like, we're gonna try our like best, like, and to actually like make a little bit of progress, but then to be like, yo, like go away,
Well,
losers. Like this ain't. I like that.
I think with 48-hour contest mode, normies like us could definitely do it. Right? Like that's kind of the whole point of 40 hours. And I know we could have, but it's like it is definitely also like that filter of like Are people ready under pressure? Are people like, does your group have the vibes together? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's less about being so impossible and more so like, hey, this is not like the type of thing you just do if you like picked up a random group anymore. It's more so like, hey, do you guys know how each other play? Can you guys play together well? Can you guys like, have you guys been like grinding out all the potential meta weapons that happened to like drop over the past couple months? It's like, this is for the people who've been playing Destiny and kind of know what to look out for with these raids coming up, right? So
You'll see.
it's
I'm of the
mechanically,
opinion.
sorry,
But
it's mechanically right, not like the most complex thing in the world. It's really not, but it's a matter of, hey, like, can you play like every second you could die? And I like that about contests a lot. What I don't like is that contest mode is not a permanent fixture, and that you can't essentially do a contest mode version of the raid year round and really test
I think
yourself.
it's a huge fumble.
And say like, oh, like I did contest mode, I did this raid contest mode. That would be awesome. It's once again 14 and even WoW, right? You have like these raids that are a different level and you could do them all the time. And the only time I ever feel that is during these contest modes where it's like, wow, this is a different level. Like this is a different level of something that I've never played before. And mechanics start because the way you interact with mechanics changes because of how weak you are. So the fact that the contest mode is not like something you could toggle on at all times and be like, wow. Obviously, like a limited time contest mode emblem for like the first couple people is sick, but like, why not there be a different like contest mode for the rest of the year? It's I don't know. I just feel like contest mode not being a toggleable option for the rest of the year is still a big fumble. But Mr.
Well, I
Fruit,
just think about it like from perspective, like real quick,
oh yeah,
just like a perspective from like us is like we could like if contest was like a toggable thing, it's like, hey guys, like let's do the normal raid for now and let's work our way up to trying to beat
yes,
contest mode. And like
yes.
and it could be like something for like your normal player base to like work towards and stuff like that. Like, I think that would be so cool. And it's like, hey guys, we're finally gonna go after contest after like 3 weeks of grinding. Like,
Yes.
we have some raid items now, and it's like, and now we can go in there and guess what? There's armor variants in there that are like, you can get a shiny from this. Like, I thought that's what I thought when I thought shinies were introduced. I was like, oh, I hope they have like almost something with like a contest mode for the raid where it's like, if you do that, you still get your normal drops for that raid, but you have like a chance of getting like some sort of like shiny variant or something like that.
And like,
Like, I just think that's so cool.
and like being so for real, nobody cares about Master. The people who play this game constantly don't even care about Master. Fuck Master. Toggleable contest mode that has those rewards, baby. Let's do it.
Yeah. You're Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Fruit.
Well, to your point, I mean, with this raid, they at least introduced, as people found out, a memento that you can put on crafted guns that makes an appearance change that you only get if you do a flawless normal run or a masters. So at least it's like something to add to like essentially if you do a master run, there's a different cosmetic thing to get. But it's not for like everything. So it's at least something. But oh yeah, I had like 2 points. One, I think individually we probably could have got through contest. I do not think our team was capable.
No.
Which is why I called it. Because like if I genuinely thought our team could do it, I'd be like, yeah, all right, let's keep going. But
I don't think it's like realistically, I don't think mechanics are that much more complex than VOW at all. And our team fucked VOW up. We are so good. But we're not as strong as we were in VOW. And yeah, the mechanics were a little harder than VOW. And all that adds up to, it just takes a little bit more than something that's already really hard to start filtering out what the group is ready for. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think it is harder than VOW in the sense that there's not just like every encounter doesn't have just 2 add clear duties. In the first, somebody could carry weight, I guess, and then somebody would just do ads.
Yeah, there's definitely more like 6-person. Encounter,
yeah, all 6 people are doing something.
Yeah, I think in VOW I was literally the ad clear guy for almost every room. It was sick.
So that makes it easier for certain teams to be able to put people certain ways, but when everyone has to execute on something, obviously that's also gonna make it harder. Um, and then the only other thing my only gripe with the raid is, there has to be some sort of fundamental design flaw or
And this is
something.
contest mode specifically, not just the
Contest
raid
mode
as a whole.
specifically. If the last boss, the top 30 teams, so what is that, 180 people? It might have even been top 50, I don't know. One, and I repeat, one Titan did it.
One.
One. That's it.
Yeah.
Where,
I
like,
wonder if they're
literally,
like,
like,
dude,
if
you
you're
have
a
a
Titan,
hunter? They're like, he's like, no. Like,
like,
all
even
I have is
Dado,
this.
a Titan main, swapped a hunter. Where,
Yeah.
like, in order to get through it, it's like if you don't have Celestial Still Hunter and, like, 4 or 5 of them. Like, I think that's a flaw in the contest
No,
design.
I think that's less a flaw in the contest design and more a flaw in this game is not balanced remotely good.
Yeah, I
And
was
that's
gonna say, I
where
think it's more so a balancing issue than a witness balancing issue.
and that's kind of an issue I've always had with Destiny where I don't think you can have tight DPS checks without having a good balancing system because I think it is a really bad design flaw that some classes in almost every single time a contest mode happens, there are some classes during contest mode that straight up don't get played or get excluded because they're so bad in that specific encounter or so bad in the raid as an entire whole. So
Like, I just
unless
imagine how bad I would have felt if we get through that whole thing, and then we get to the
yeah
5th encounter, and I can mechanically be doing everything, and I'm still a deady because I can't get us through DPS. Like, that would just be the
yeah
worst. Um, so that was my only complaint. I'm sure there's been a couple more Titans, but, like, it was by far and away very obvious. Because even Warlocks were relegated to, like, well div if you're on the team. Um, Otherwise hunters. So it is what it is. As a whole, though, yeah, contest mode. I mean, the Dado and them got the dick punch they wanted, and even Dado's like, "This is great." Even when he
Big
was like
W.
28 hours deep, didn't finish, and went to sleep, he's like, "This is exactly what I asked for." Um, so I'm happy for them. Um, Obviously, I would have liked to complete it. Maybe the thing is now we don't know when or if it'll happen again because currently, while we're talking about like D3, that's all speculation. We don't know about another raid. So when that day will come, I don't
Yeah.
know. But it's always the most fun. And for me, I think also it's why playing Destiny is fun because up until that raid day when it's approaching, everything you're doing is for a goal of like grinding and prepping and making sure I have everything possible for day one raid because we don't know what you're gonna need. But then after day one raid, you no longer have to min max as like nearly as much. So it's
Yeah.
for me, the goals and carrots I have to like chase are a lot more ambiguous because it's no longer like, well, I need to min max this. Like it just doesn't work for my brain. Um, but I will say grinding for it the last week before I finally had time and I hopped on and tried to grind as much as possible with Into the Light. And I can see why people were like, Into the Light was sick because I wish I had more time to play it because you had, again, it's the best time to play it. At the end of the cycle, you have all 3 seasons, you have all those activities, you have all the stories, you have all the quests. Then you had the End of the Light, Onslaught Bangs, you had the shiny stuff. There were so many things to chase. But yeah, I think they like really nailed that. They even added Pantheon. And it was all looking sick. And then,
Which is like still something I want to try. Is Pantheon back or is it ever coming back or is it
well, that's
gone?
the problem. They release the new DLC, all the 3 seasons go away. You can't access that stuff aside from the dungeons if there were. And then or in the
That
reprised
sucks.
raid. Onslaught stayed at least, but the Hall of Champions left, so you can't get shinies or a tune. Pantheon went away, which I don't know why. So we ended up just like losing a lot of it. But a lot of that was like, wait, this is like you actually got something here? What are we
Yeah.
doing? I think probably they took Pantheon away too. Like this will be another emergency, like towards the end of whatever this year cycle is or something. Like another one of those. Like
Yeah. I
Into the
did.
Light V2.
This raid did have something that I didn't have from the previous raids. After we quit and put in the towel, I was able to get where they didn't want me. That is one of my favorite
Ooh.
parts about the raids. Is I know we're never getting worlds first, so everyone's always kind of like running through to get to the next counter. I'm always the guy like kind of jumping around looking for puzzles, and then going, "Hey guys, where did you guys go?" So like, and so
That's
it's
why
a
at the
give and
beginning I
take.
found the secret chest
Yeah,
because it is
so it's
fun,
a little
but
yeah, it's cool, and I know. So you know how you go in an elevator, like shoot you up. So I found that elevator. You can like still get up there to where you go to the next encounter. And it still has like the physics, I guess, to like pull you up. So and everything else doesn't have like what's the word I'm looking for? Collision. So you can kind of like work your way up the tube all the way up to the top. But then like you got to get kind of fancy with the grapples and stuff. But I was able to glitch inside the third room, which was really cool and fun the first night. Kind of fun to fuck around and
heck yeah.
do that. Wasn't able to finally get in the fourth room. I was literally such a loser. I was literally Googling like how to go through doors in Destiny 2. I was literally watching like a 2017 video of somebody like, this is how you get through, like, and it's like parentheses patched. And it's like, all right, well, like
Rip.
patched it 7 years ago. But that was really cool. To get like do those little secrets and like just the raid like room itself or just kind
But
of the
victory that I
skybox and the
chose.
atmosphere of it. Easily probably one of my favorite raids. We didn't get to the final boss or the fourth room. But the fourth room has one of my favorites. I don't know what you do in there. Okay. I don't know what you do in
I
the
don't know
fourth
either.
encounter. I don't know a single
People were
thing.
confused forever, though. I know that.
I think the aesthetic of it looks really sick. I think the aesthetic of it is so cool. Um, and I like the idea of having like another puzzle check. So it's like, oh, you thought that puzzle was like tough? Like, here's the even harder one. So like it almost trims the fat of fire teams again and nearly would have, I'm sure. And then the final boss, the witness, I think Christian kind of said it best. Like, we haven't had like a daunting raid boss kind of since like Oryx or like something that felt like, I don't know, doom impending, or I guess. And the witness looks sick. I again don't know what you do, but looked really cool.
Yeah, I like tried to piece together. I was watching data for a while, so I'm like, I kind of get it, and also still don't. Still end up seeing, but they got what they wished for. So they got technically, I mean, at this point, at least going by raid race, the hardest raid to date. So
Yeah. I mean, they gave everything I would want in a contest mode and like just in the raid in general. I think the raid is cool. I want to play it. I'm excited to try and do it. I know we talked about maybe playing it with like Dado, Danielle, and Jez
I
for
just
some
don't think that'll
content.
be for a while though.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I think I just want to beat it. I just think it looks really fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
10 out
contest
of
mode's
10
about
raid.
to end as we're talking. We'll
Yeah.
get a team and ideally at least get one clear. Um, I have to figure out if I can even get my other characters high enough.
Oh,
Um,
and
yeah.
and I will say, if you're gonna make a raid this hard, gotta have like a story endpoint that made it feel like it's
Worth it.
still like everyone's still part of something, which obviously the last encounter, like the last mission. So I think they did a great job. I think it's cool if you have raids that are easier. Um, I think it's good for the
Oh,
player base, but I also think like they did a really good capstone of being like, yeah, this is a dick punching raid, but just because it's a dick punching raid, not everyone can do at the very start doesn't mean you're not, still important to the game and still important to the story. You know what I mean? So they cooked. I would say
Christian and
they
I
cooked.
Christian and I talked about this yesterday, Blue. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say.
Oh wait, before
Um,
you mention that, because I
oh,
know
go
what you're
ahead.
about to
Yeah.
say.
Okay, go ahead.
In terms of like the story ending, what I
Yeah.
also appreciated when I watched like one of the clears is you like almost kill the witness, and on the podium where they were, as soon as they got their loot, it was literally boot the next mission, like the Excision 12 player mission. It wasn't even like, oh, go back to orbit. Hey, you can do this now. It was literally like, it would feel like, hey, you did this. Now go finish him. Like, boom, bam. You get to the
I
cutscene,
agree.
then you get to the
Very cool.
mission. Yeah, and it made it feel much more cohesive. But yeah,
So there was a very hot topic on the contest day one raids. especially with the top streamers, your Salt Agrepos, your
I
Dados
know where
of the
you're gonna
world.
get. Yep, I already know where you're going.
Mhm.
Blue, what is your opinion on people hiding their screens, hiding strats, muting comms, as a whole? Like, what is your kind of take on it? Because Christian and I talked about it a little bit. We'll kind of touch on our takes, but I'd be interested to hear what you have to say about it.
So the reality is, this was always eventually going to happen as raid races become more competitive. And obviously in Vogue and Crota's End, the very first two, it was kind of like a, it was like a little buddy system, and everyone was nice, and everyone's like, let's just focus on our raid. And then obviously King's Fall, where you have the stream sniping incidents, where you have that final stand, and then suddenly everyone starts like, oh guys, final stand. Oh guys, there's a final stand. Everyone starts telling everyone else. Everyone starts telling their team, and suddenly you just lost an advantage of being the farthest ahead because you were streaming. And so, all that goodwill of like, oh, just focus on our own raid, suddenly out the window because the floodgates open. Everyone's like, oh dude, this happens after this. Oh dude, this happens. Everyone's telling their team. And I mean, if you want to get world's first, like, you got to take every advantage you can. So I don't think I'm not really I'm not upset by it, because I understand it, because the reality is, unless there's a big incentive to stream, which I mean in D2 as a streamer, right? Like, those gift sub bounties are pretty nice, but unless there's a big incentive to stream, then people aren't going to stream if they're really focused on being the world's first. In WoW, for a long time, most of the world racers didn't stream. Obviously now it's different because there's so many incentives for streaming to WoW.
They have like a competition though. It's kind of weird how
Yeah,
WoW does it
exactly.
now. They
So
like fly out teams because like they
yeah,
know only like 5 teams are gonna be able to do it or something. It's weird.
yeah. So they make it a bit.
But
They really incentivize the shit out of it so that it can be streamed, and so there can be viewership. Obviously, WoW is the king of raid races, viewership wise. So, and in Destiny, right? Like they do incentivize it, and they learn from WoW, where it's like, hey, give people a reason to stream it. But even then, like, the world's first team for Destiny, they didn't stream it. For a lot of world's first teams, they weren't streaming it, and it's only getting rarer and rarer for world's first teams to stream it. And I'm used to this because in 14, the best teams don't stream. Just straight up, like, if they're going for world's first, they don't stream. It's actually detrimental to stream because of how mechanically complex Final Fantasy's mechanics are. So like, someone
stand on the beam.
Don't stand on the beam, but like, if people see like a symbol, if people see like, oh, like, people look at your screen and they notice
like
something
buff
or a buff,
like,
they notice something you don't, then it's suddenly like they're caught up to you. And now your world's first lead is a lot shorter than it once was. So I'm used to it because I'm so used to serious world's first teams not streaming at all. And I think this was such a big race. Like, people aren't going to be taking that risk. Like, this is the capstone. Like, this is the world's first race. And this is the most important world's first race that's going to happen in years. So I know a lot of people are upset at it, and I know a lot of people think, man, this is lame. But at the end of the day, like, all those world's first people, there's a lot of people who are just doing the contest mode because they want to have fun, right? Like, and they're like, we'll eventually
in all
get
actuality, they don't know. They know they're not getting like top.
Yeah, they know they're not getting world's
like,
first, but they're like, I want to be one of the teams to beat this, right? And that's their point. Like, I want to be one of the teams who beat this in contest. But that's different for, like, that's the 1%. And the 0.1% is like, this is all about getting that number 1 title. This is about getting that belt. This is about me saying in 20 years when I'm yapping to my wife, babe, 20 years ago, I beat this video game thing first. That's what it's all about, baby. And every advantage is an advantage. So I'm, like I said, I'm used to it. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think people are streaming because it's obviously, right, great publicity, free money, poggers. But if you start potentially putting your place in a race in danger, yeah, you're gonna start taking away little bits and pieces. So I think unless it starts getting incentivized for you, like you need to be streaming, then it's gonna keep happening for a good reason, of very valid reasons, and it's a very logical thing to do, to say, well, like, I don't want other people getting info for my stream, so I'm gonna do this and this.
Well, I think this is kind of the first time in a long time in the raid that like there was clearly a roadblock, and that was the 4th encounter. So it's like if you were there and you had any sort of information, it was like you definitely had an advantage. So I
Yeah.
think like just kind of the roadblock that was room 4 kind of even like heightened the don't share your strats type of thing. Which I'm totally fine with. Like that's the spirit of competition. That's why we love sports. Like people love seeing the agony of defeat and love seeing the euphoria of victory. And that's what the world's first raid is. So people are going to do anything to feel that euphoria. So they hide their strats, and which is all fair in game. All is fair in love and war and day 1 raid. I'm going to say that now.
I
Um
think
I think it's
I
cool.
think I think some people downplay where it's like, is it really that big of a deal? When they fail to realize that almost every competitive team that's genuinely shooting for world's first literally has a quote unquote coach or 7th player
Yeah.
that watches other streams among theirs, collects all information that they possibly can. Like,
Yep.
they hide the information because that's literally what teams do.
And in WoW and FF, that's called their 9th, and they consider them a part of the
Their
team.
ninth.
That, like, they genuinely, it's not a meme. Like, they literally consider them like, our 9th is one of our team members. They gather info. They relook at footage while we're raiding. They're gathering info from other people's streams. They're browsing like Reddit. They're for theories and like people saying like, hey, we had success with this. Like that's part of raid races. It wasn't
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, the world's first team got a second clear because that was, I think, one of them dropped
Exactly.
out and they brought their coach back in to get them a clear too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's
like, it's a thing.
For a long time that wasn't how Destiny races were, but that's how
Evolution.
That's how every MMO race has been for a long time. So Destiny
Isn't
was
that,
gonna
cool.
Destiny was
think
gonna
it's
get there
a cool
eventually.
thing.
I think it's cool.
I
I
don't
think
have
I
it's
a
look at
problem
it
with it.
half full. I don't look at it half and be like,
No,
I don't get to watch like
no.
people's perspectives.
no.
Like,
I think it's sick, but if they, that's just the nature of competition, and that's just the nature of world's first. If you either your only 2 options are make the raids easy enough so that everyone's a part of it, or you incentivize it so much that you obviously have people needing to stream for it to be valid. But I don't think it's a problem as it is. It's like if Bungie has a problem with it, they have avenues to fix it. But at the end of the day, it's a competition, and people are gonna take any advantage they can get, and so it's always valid.
You said, Christian, that like the team that got worlds first ended up figuring out the 4th room before everybody else did.
Yeah, so if the stories are to be believed, apparently what happened is the world's first team was still stuck on the 2nd encounter when everybody was at 4th, like the people leading. And they were behind a good bit. But what they ended up doing was clearing 2nd, 3rd, getting to 4th, and being apparently the first team on their own to figure out the 4th room before everybody else. So they caught up, figured out even faster, and got to the witness, which is pretty Chad energy. So kudos to them. Now, again, part of it too, though, is I'm sure they got to the 4th encounter and their person's like, here's what we know already.
Yeah. 100%.
Now we just have to try
1000%.
the things they haven't done. But still pretty cool that they did that. And my perspective is I totally understand why anybody competitive does it. And I understand as a viewer why it's a bummer. Because you want to see the
Yeah.
people, like you want to see Dado in the lead, cheer him on, and then all you have is Peyton Manning in the corner, black screen, no comms, and you're like,
See, like the only way you'd be able to achieve that is if like Bungie flew out Dado's team to be in a studio or something like that, and flew out the other teams, and they knew they weren't looking at their chats or something like that, and
yeah.
it was an isolated event. But like
And then
with
people would
how
be upset because normies
exactly,
can't
yeah,
compete.
yeah,
So I don't think there's any winning. I don't know if we'll ever like
I agree.
find a solution because if you're competitive, not doing that is not competitive at this point.
See, like
So
while Dado was doing the fourth room, I literally had Dado stream on like the bottom fourth of mine, and then I was just jumping around, seeing if I could like where I could get in the raid and stuff. Like I like it because I really think it's people who are in that mode taking it very seriously and doing whatever they can to get a leg up on the competition. I'm a big sports fan. I love competition. I love seeing strats. I love seeing those type of things. So when I see people taking it that seriously to the point where they're hiding strats, people are literally like Dado had Peyton Manning in like a face mask all over his thing. Others had like literally like fruit little videos, like the little stem videos going across. Like I think that stuff is funny and cool because people are in there behind the scenes taking it very seriously and trying really, really hard. And then as soon as they do get that clear, you're seeing something like that is really cool. Like I think it's awesome. I can get why from a viewer perspective it does suck though.
yeah, I get both. I just don't think there's an easy fix. It's I think it's unfair to say that the people competing should not do it because
Yeah,
competitively that's what they have to
exactly.
do. And I get why it's unfair to tell the viewers like, well, just suck it up because they
Because
want to
like
watch the world's first
here's
race.
the question, Blue. If we were at that fourth room when everyone else was at the fourth room, would you have hid your screen
Oh
and done
fuck
the
yeah,
same
I
thing?
would have.
Yeah, see, so I would have too.
Well, actually, I probably wouldn't have. Well, okay, if no. If we were the first there, yes, I would have.
I'm
But
saying
This
like
is
we're
a
like one of the
hypothetical
10
scenario.
teams.
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
if
like
we were the
we're
first there,
genuinely
if I was a world's first racer, I would have. I would have straight up
I agree.
said, turn off your
Yeah, I'm
obscure your
with you.
screen somehow.
Yeah,
But I'm just a dude who's like, yeah, let's get some contest clears. Yeah, let's do
I would have made my
let's do some
screen
dick punching
so deep
shit.
fried.
Could have done that hypercam
Yeah,
hypercam
it would have
quality.
been.
see.
Yeah, it
Imagine
would've
the
been.
chat energy if a team ends up winning who doesn't. Because like I know like Glad's team, they were pretty competitive. Never once obscured though. It'd be some pretty
Really,
chat energy if they ended up winning
it
still.
is chat energy for
I
sure.
mean, for a long time, yeah, that's
Definitely
that
chat energy.
for a long time, Destiny raids had chat energy, but
But I
like,
don't think hiding your screen is beta energy like a lot of people say
No,
it is.
no,
Like
no,
a
no.
I
lot
don't
of
think so.
people give
It's
Salt the Greppo a
competition.
ton of shit for it. I don't get
It's
it.
competition. That's what it's gonna happen.
I'm a big fan of Salt the Greppo because if I was as good as smart as him, I would not have the patience for the fucking tweets and shit he gets. I'd literally be like, "You're a fucking moron. Don't talk to me." Like I would literally not have the patience he has. He's not done that one time. So I'm a big fan of his.
See, but to that
Go
counterpoint,
ahead.
I just want him to go ape wild because I
Me
want him.
too. So do I.
But that's why I'm a Dado stan, because Dado just goes ape wild on people on Twitter. So you have someone that is
I think it
that
was
smart.
to the turn. He used to not, and then at some point he just said, "I'm doing this."
Dado is that smart, and Dado still says, "Fuck you, buddy," right on Twitter. It's awesome.
He still doesn't know how to dodge on his hunter though to reload. So like he does need to
That was
step that
funny.
up on. He does need to step.
And
it
I
up.
could not blame him. Because like if I was same situation, it's like I gotta switch to Hunter. I have
don't know
no
what I'm
muscle
doing.
memory. Yeah, like I
Oh,
don't know.
dude, if I had
like,
played Warlock or Titan, I'd have
Yeah.
no idea what I would be doing.
All right,
Yeah.
boys. So consensus here. I think Final Shape is the best Destiny has been
Since Taken King for me.
I Forsaken was the bar for me, and I would say this is the best it's been since Forsaken, and I would say this for me is probably the best Destiny DLC content wise. I don't love Destiny like I used to, but I can be objective and know there's so much to this DLC. There's so much um to like I can finally make builds again. There's the story was genuinely so much deeper than like this one-off story. It's deep, it's rich. Characters really finally get their arcs that they've been waiting for. Obviously, gameplay wise, banger, best legendary campaign I've played so far, and raid peak, perfect capstone to a franchise that has been so rocky for so long and somehow managed to stick an ending landing. Yeah, there's a lot of plot holes that got that like started and then got left into the fucking wasteland. Yeah, there's a lot of characters that are probably never going to get their the writing that they deserve. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are being left up in the air that maybe they come back to later, but probably not. But despite all that, the ending for the main characters up to this point and the overall just like feeling of finality they nailed. So this is a 9 out of 10. This is a 9 out of 10 for me. I think not just as Destiny, but as like an overall game. This is a 9 out of 10 game for me.
Yeah, I think for me, I think it's for me Taken King was like the example. Just because the amount of like just kind of the normal base I saw it kind of come back. I don't think you will see that base kind of come back because at this point I think like Blue said, if you're a Destiny player, you'll come back. If you're not, it's kind of already over with. But if you're one of those people that are like, I don't know if I'm going to play Final Shape, but I've played Destiny in the past, you got to get this. It's it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. The raid's amazing. If you have friends, especially if you have friends that play that are like you and we're like, or like me, like play Destiny like once a month or like never. I haven't played since November. I think it's time to get it. I think it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. Like the raid is super fun. Um, yeah, I would probably say a 9.5, maybe even. Uh, I'm gonna take what you guys said for the story as face value. I don't really know. Uh, and so like the story doesn't hinder it, except the yapping when you get the when you find Destiny little cubes on the and they just talk in your ear for
Bro
eight and a
picks
half hours,
up
and I get
mini
dialogue for 8
travelers.
hours.
It's the most lore we've known about the Traveler ever, and he's like, "Why are they yapping, man?"
It's just,
Oh,
I'm
and
like,
shout out to the
sucks.
Mika stories. So good. So good. The
Who the
post
fuck is
game.
that? Like,
Oh
who
my
is
god.
Mika?
That's the end of
Like,
the Dark Ghost stories
I
we did
get
like
that, but
20
like,
bajillion
who is
times.
this and why are they here now? Like, what? Like,
They were one of the
Oh,
original 6 coyotes, one of the like initial scouts for the
and now they're in a
Guardians,
robot.
and
oh my
well,
god.
no,
They
they were
were
always
always a
EXO.
robot.
Yes. The point. Okay. Also, before we get into goofy questions, some of the best voice acting I've heard in Destiny franchise was those Mika quest lines. Goated. So good.
Also, I didn't have a
Uh,
problem with Keith David.
Keith David. Okay, we need a whole mini part of this. I think with the things that happens, obviously, right? Lance Reddick is Zavala,
yeah.
but I think Keith did as good of a job as anyone could have possibly done with the circumstances. I
Yeah,
I
well,
I will follow Keith David into battle as Zavala.
because we talked about it. Like Keith David sounds like Keith David, but like, do I want Keith David trying to sound like Savala? Not really,
Exactly.
because I like, you know
But
what I mean. Like, so it's like I
he
don't know what
gets
I wanted, but I just know I didn't like what I got.
he gets close enough to the vibe of Zavala that I think it works.
Yeah,
So I think Keith David cooked. I think
yeah,
I think given the circumstances, let him cook.
yeah. It didn't because like, would I be more? Would I hate it more if it was Keith David trying to be like Savala rather than just like Keith David
Yeah.
knowing what he is and like knowing what his like what he was going for? I didn't like hate it. I just didn't love it. I was
Yeah.
like very like nah. Like I just felt like it could have been better, but it could have been way worse too. Like, um, well, we actually hit pretty much our hour and a half mark.
Yeah, the
So
Destiny episode.
yeah. So we'll save my bachelor party stories because I have a lot, and I'm not gonna try and squeeze them here in a 3-minute thing. So next week, we will come back with Q&A and also some bachelor party stories from last week, which was why I was missing. So thank you guys all for chilling and hanging out and listening to the GG Over Easy podcast. Check out the final shape. We are not sponsored. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, I am a
check out-
hashtag Bungie creator though,
Oh, there you go. Blue is a hashtag Bungie
so
creator.
not sponsored, but thanks for the free final shape code. I love
Yeah,
you.
that was sick. I got one too. Check it out. Please also check out our Patreon, check out the YouTube, check out all the other places you listen to podcasts. We will catch you guys all next week with some more stories. Peace out.